All right, we are live. Welcome to episode 353 of the Artcasters. This is the show where we talk about like the ins and outs of freelance illustration, graphic design, cartooning, and animation. And this should be a fun one. I think Scott's got his drinks out. I've got my drink. Cory, as usual, is recovering from a near-death illness, and we're ringing in the new year by a little late, but that's okay. And we thought we would recap last year. And before we get into that and we get into our introductions and stuff, I wanted to say that our show would be nothing without you guys watching. And I'm seeing a lot of regulars like showing up in the chats. So hi, Jake. Welcome. I hope your internet vacation is going well. Hello, Paul Pate. Hello, Keeman. And hello, Gary, who always calls us gentlemen, which I appreciate, even though I am no gentleman. All right. So before we get into our recap of the year, of the last year of 2022, is it? I'm getting to that age where they all bleed together. Is it 2022? The last year?
Last year, yeah.
Okay. 2022. So we're going to recap that. But before we do, let's let everybody know where to find our stuff. I'm Joshua Kemble. You know where my YouTube is because you're at it. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit like, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And Rapscallions, ne'er-do-wells. I love it. This is like thesaurus level awesomeness from Gary. I bet you he has a thesaurus pulled up. Just anyhow, that chess playing fellow. Wow, I'm taking a long time on my intro. Okay, anyhow, so you can find my stuff here on YouTube, and you can also check out the book that was published last year called Jacob's Apartment, which is a graphic novel about two roommates that are polar opposites that are like the two warring houses in Romeo and Juliet. And much like Romeo and Juliet, it has a doomed ending, but it's more of a slice of life story. So if you took Eternal Sunshine from the Spotless Mind, mixed it in a blender with Ghost World, and gave it obviously my own writing style, then that's the book you'd have. And you can get that anywhere and ask your local library to order it, which a lot of you last year did. And there's also two stories, and those are both available at bookstores everywhere online. Jacob's Apartment should be available at bookstores everywhere. And yeah, that's my long-winded thing. Scott, where can everybody find your stuff? And I challenge you to be more long-winded than I was.
You can find my stuff on my videos and everything you can find on my YouTube channel, and you can find that at CircWorks on YouTube, where you'll find just a bunch of videos on life as an artist, how to make a living as an artist, all that kind of stuff. A lot of comics content, including Making Comics 101, which is my series on how to make comics. It's the most comprehensive free course for making comics you'll find on YouTube or pretty much anywhere, I would imagine. Other than that, I've got a website where you can find my comics. So one of them is Young and the Dead. Still haven't up. I'm still waiting to get a shipment. I think I shipped all my newest issue with the Kickstarter, so I'm waiting to get some more. And once I get those, I'll put those up on the website. But until then, you can get the first 4 issues available there, along with a bunch of digital products for making comics and things that have the digital products. They have like templates and fonts and page layouts and all kinds of stuff like that. So check some of those out over at circworks.com.
Nice. You're about 2 minutes shy of beating my my meandering. So Cory, challenge put to you. Beat my long-winded pitch and let everybody know where to find your work.
I started out as a child in the 80s. Excuse my voice. I'll be muting myself often just so that nobody has to listen to me like this. But I actually do have stuff to pitch this time. If you go to my website, corykerr.com, then you can check out all the stuff. I have shirts and mugs and flags in different designs, and they are available. They are high quality, and they're organized this way. And you can also go in and organize them, like look at them by like types. So if you wanted to go and look at like all of the shirts, you can look at them like that. I spent the last few months of last year working on these, and they are ready to go. I already see what Josh has pulled up. Thanks a lot, Josh. Before I jump out of this.
So I just wanted to bring up Cory's background and the 1980s hair metal band, Christian hair metal band, Striper. And I don't know what the similarity is there, but you guys compare the aesthetic. Okay. Anyhow, I just thought
they don't have as many cool comics on their walls than as I do. But.
Yeah, and I still need to get my T-shirt. And I promise, Cory, I'm not one of those people that keeps saying, "Oh yeah, as soon as you get T-shirts up, I'm buying one," and then never buy one. So, but yeah,
that's fine. I don't expect anybody to, but they are good if you do get them. So
yeah, there's some really cool designs. Now that series isn't over yet, is it? Are you still working?
No,
on
I'm gonna keep going on that. Yeah,
cool,
so there'll be more added in the next few months as well. So.
My favorite of Cory's designs is the striper pattern. Okay. Anyhow, enough razzing Cory. So I had forgotten about that band, and it was like the last time we were all streaming where I was like, what is that background reminding me of? And then I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. Anyhow, okay. So 2022 was a crazy year. I don't know how we want to do this. Do we want to just kind of go through what we accomplished in the year and what we got through and stuff?
Yeah, I kind of broke mine down in like wins and losses and kind of somewhere in between type of thing.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, we can just go. I don't know. We go back and forth, or we just go one of us and go through it, and then have others interject. I don't know.
Should we
didn't really plan this out very well.
Should we crap sandwich our feedback where we're giving one positive thing, one loss, and then one positive thing?
I don't know if I have enough positive things.
Well, let's just tear into it, Scott. It sounds like you're kind of all geared up, so maybe we can just start with you, and then work our way to like Cory and myself.
Okay, yeah.
Chime in whenever.
I also want to hear those of you in the chat. Let us know what some of your accomplishments and things were this year. Mm-hmm. So that'd be we'd definitely like to hear that as well.
Also let us know what you guys did on New Year's too. I'm kind of curious. So yeah,
I took NyQuil and fell asleep.
That sounds like very awesome. So you're doing dextro. Thorpian, you're DMing.
Yeah.
There's a new thing that kids like mix with like purple soda or something. It's like a real dangerous thing. Don't do it. All right, go ahead.
Kayla says she graduated. She finished all of her college classes.
Wow!
Congratulations, awesome. Kayla.
Nice job, Kayla.
Okay, so Scott, do you want to just go full screen and we'll just comment from the background? Are you going to show stuff?
I don't have it. No, I don't have it. Oh, I didn't prep that much. I just have stuff written down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I could go.
I did come prepared with a slide for Scott. So here's slide 1.
Okay. All right. So my 2022 kind of started off not so great. I kind of like similar position where Cory's in now. I started the year with COVID, so that wasn't good. I would probably put that as a loss, or definitely, it was a setback if nothing else. So so that was the beginning of my year. But other than, even though I was off to kind of a bad start, I had an excellent year professionally, yeah, and personally as well. So but I'll go in and let's see. So one of the first accomplishments, and this started back the previous year in 2021, but in 2022 I finished creating my first kids course on how to make comics, and I did that with a partnership with DIY.org, which, interestingly enough, is now, if you guys have kids, or even if you don't, I mean, as long as you're not up to no good, you could probably still check it out if you're an adult, because it's still really good information. But it used to be a subscription model, but now it's a freemium model. So you can go there and you can get your kids registered there. I believe it's, a lot of that content's free. There's some premium stuff that's a premium, like probably some of the chats and things like that, and kind of the community aspect of it. But yeah, my course is up there. You can check it out. I had a blast doing it. And there's kind of a bucket list thing. After I did Making Comics 101, that was another thing I always wanted to do, is make a course for kids. And I had a lot of fun doing that. So that was the first thing that I accomplished. Another big one was that I finished Young and the Dead #5. And I ran a Kickstarter for that was successful. So that was a big thing, because if you've been following me in my career, those, even though they're just floppy comics, the average size, floppy size comic, I do have some visual stuff here. Even though I had even though they're floppy comics, they usually take me over a year to make, just not because I work on it like an hour a day or something like that. So, but it's nice to finally, that's the second to the last issue. So next week, I think we're going to talk about goals for next year. So the next issue will factor into that. But yeah, it was cool. And then I actually recruited some of my friends. 2 of them are on the show right now to do variant covers. So it was a really cool campaign, and I'm happy with the way the issue came out, and I'm glad it was successful and that it's out there. And I'm one step closer to having this thing complete. So that was a definite win. Another thing I did a lot of was I did a lot of store. There it is. There's Josh's cover, which he actually, if you know the story of that, he actually did that as a birthday present for me a couple years ago. And he said I could use it however I want. And I said, can we do that as a variant cover? And so.
And I can levitate it with, I don't know if I mentioned that for last year, but levitation. Anyhow,
so let's see. Yeah, another, I did I guess a handful of store signings at my local comic book store, which was cool. And I also exhibited it at, even though I stopped kind of doing cons myself, I did do Phoenix Fan Fusion, I think it's called. They've changed the name a couple of times, but just signing at the booth for my local comic book store. So that was cool. Yeah, let's see what else I've got all this stuff written down. Yeah, so it was definitely cool to do that. It was a different vibe, not having to worry about the booth setup and all that kind of stuff, because that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing cons, because I just, the setup and the breakdown and the pre-planning, it was just taking so much time and everything.
Yeah,
so it was,
and your setup is intense.
Yeah, it was pretty elaborate and everything. So, but yeah, so that was kind of a nice little change, to kind of just go there and hang out and meet obviously a lot of local artists and stuff. But speaking of meeting artists, another big thing that I got to do is I got to hang out in person with a lot of my closest art buddies. Again, 2 of them on the show. One of them a couple times and one of them once. So I got to go out to California, and I got to hang out with Josh and Cory and Jim Lujan and Gary Hodges and Jeremy Burley and Ken Mora. So that was cool. And we'll talk about, again, next week, we'll talk about goals for next month, but I'm hoping to do for this year, but I'm hoping to do more of that, traveling and meeting with friends and stuff. I got an opportunity to go to Colorado. I was just kind of tagging along with my girlfriend who's there on business. And while I was there, I looked up a friend that I follow and that we've had on the show, Sean Tiffany, who I got introduced through Jeff Lafferty. I was hoping I could meet up with Jeff Lafferty, but he was kind of off the grid at that point. And I think he lives further away from where I was in Denver. So, but that was cool. I got to hang out with Sean and I went for lunch and everything and just talk shop and everything. And that was fun. And then fairly recently we had to get together in Arizona where Cory came out and he's kind of helping me with some of my studio setup. And also, Gary, who's local here, came out and Jim Lujan came down from California. And so we got to hang out here at my place, which is awesome. So that was a big thing for me. That's something that was one of my goals that I set that I wanted to do for last year. Nice. And I'm glad I got a chance to do that and hopefully do that more because it's just so cool, hanging out with you guys and everyone. It's definitely a blast and I can't wait to do it again. So, let's see. So the big one, the one that occupied most of my time was that I took on a big contract with an app developer, a company that I'd done some stuff before in the past, but they're kind of doing like their big rollout kind of and everything. So that was one of those things where previous to that, I was kind of like, I'm not going to be doing much. I'm kind of moving away from doing client work, but when you do that, when you say that, then it seems like you're more in demand. So, and when you're in a position where we're not really looking to do, freelance work stuff, then you say, well, it's going to take a little more to get me to step away from some of the personal projects I did. So, but I ended up doing that and I had a lot of fun working on this particular project. It did take a lot of my time and everything, but it was a great experience. And also it was pretty, financially, it's set me up pretty well for, at least funding some of the stuff that I want to do, like here in the studio that I'm building and just the house in general and putting some money into that and everything. So that was cool. Of course, a few things had to take a back seat, like some of my personal projects, but all in all, I did get to do, I got to finish my comic and Kickstarters, and it still seems like I got to do some other stuff despite being busy with this one project. Let's see. And then another thing I got involved with, was and I mentioned, if you've been following me, you've probably heard me talk about the educational comics that I started working on. So we did, I guess, 1.5 comics for the cybersecurity kind of industry, and that was really cool. And that's something I want to do more of moving forward as well. So yeah, that was cool working on those projects. A lot of ups and downs. So there was wins in there and there was losses, which I'll get to later. The other thing I did was I was able to sort of invest in myself. I've been working with a personal coach and everything, which has been awesome. And I've done some coaching myself, but it's nice to get kind of that, that for yourself, So that, and then I took a few courses and things like that to just better life for myself and everything. So that was cool. So I made some investments there. Also invested in my company, building this studio, which I'm anxious, hopefully soon, to start unveiling that along with my plans for what I'm going to be doing with YouTube moving forward and all that. So just investing in the home studio and like a little mobile studio that I can take where I go and everything. And just, making a lot of changes on a personal level to the house and everything. My girlfriend recently moved in. So we've been doing a lot of upgrades and redesigning and stuff like that to the house, which is cool. So it's cool to kind of, in addition to that, I've been continuing on with like just getting rid of stuff, trying to move more towards being a little more minimalist. I still got a long way to go, but I'm making progress there. But it's
Scott,
nice. Just to
So I might be jumping the gun here, but
no, go ahead.
Are your New Year's goals going to be doing like van life vlogs?
I don't,
because you're like,
I don't.
I've been getting really into like Marie Kondo minimalism and rebooting the studio.
I don't think I'll take it that far. The van life thing, I wouldn't mind like a part-time van life kind of thing, you know.
But going
I would like to travel
tough.
eventually and go different places, but not like a full-time van life thing. So I don't know, but I don't know if that's a next year thing. But we'll see. We'll see.
Just to catch up with the chats too. Before we go further on. So Gary said regarding the New Year, he ate leftover Christmas cookies and watched Fellowship of the Ring, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That sounds incredible. And I guess we'll continue through the chats a little later, but go ahead, Scott.
No, yeah, I also filled up on a lot of sweets, and that's why next week you'll be hearing me talk about my health goals for next year. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, so those are a lot of the kind of the big wins. Another big, I would chalk up as a win is YouTube. I've been consistent on YouTube, still putting out a video pretty much every week, which is cool. And again, we'll talk about big plans for next year on that next week.
Scott, real quick, would you say that last year, because it feels to me like last year the comics courses really picked up like quite a bit, but am I crazy? Or
are you making comics videos?
Yeah,
the YouTube video, they're doing well. It's one of those things where when I was putting them out there, I was, as I was putting them out there, my goal was that, here's a series, and I'm really gonna put a lot of extra effort into those. Particularly if you watch those videos, there's a lot more production value than there's a lot of B-roll and stuff like that a lot of which I shot myself and did all that. So there was a lot more time in that. And when I was putting them out there, they didn't hit like right away. And I was kind of hoping that maybe one would hit, and then the rest of it would people be like, because they say like when you get something that on YouTube that is successful, then keep doing that. And since I had a whole series, that was kind of my hope, which it didn't really pan out like that in the beginning. I mean, they got probably more views than my average videos did at that time, but over time they're doing good. They keep getting views and stuff like that. So yeah. And I find that's the case with a lot of the things that I do. A lot of the even the digital products, most of those took a while they didn't all take off. And it's just over time, like, this past December was a good month for, like the books that I had published. I didn't publish any new books last year, but books that I published a year ago, they, especially around Christmas time, they just start selling despite me not really doing anything with them.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes, and it's the way, like when you sell books like on Amazon, like, and the books I'm talking about are like a lot of coloring books and activity books and things that I created. And like a lot of people, the ones I don't talk about all of them because all of them don't really fit the brand, but like my comic book workbooks, like the blank comic book pages and the thumbnail guides, and there's lettering guides and like there's books for designing your own heroes and stuff like that, and villains and all that kind of stuff. Those type of books, I created them once, years ago, and they continue to sell. And when you have stuff like that on Amazon, the more they sell, because the more they sell, the more reviews they get, the more Amazon pushes them out. So it's kind of a long game. They sell more and more. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a point where they may dip, and it's always a good idea to put out more books. But even though I haven't put out really any books last year, the ones that I did continue to sell. So it's like that with the videos. It's like that with the other stuff. So I'm a big proponent of of creating like different passive income streams and
Mhm.
things like that, which I didn't, and I'll get into this as I'll get into that with the losses, but they're not really losses because again, I'm still earning money off of them, but I still think it's a good idea just to continue that up because if it's working, continue to do that. I just didn't with the other big projects and stuff. I didn't really have time to, but I definitely want to get back into, I've got some ideas for some other books and things that I probably like to do in the future. So,
Awesome.
so yeah, those are, along with just being consistent on YouTube and everything, those are sort of the big wins. The one that started off good. I was doing really well for a while with my newsletter. And once I got to I think right around the time I launched the Kickstarter and everything, and it was helpful in promoting that. And then I really haven't put out a newsletter since then. So that's something I gotta look back into. But I was, so that was sort of, it started off good, but I wasn't consistent with that. Another one that was, like I said, was kind of somewhere in the middle was just the books and the passive income streams, where I didn't really get a chance to do anything new, but it's still kind of a win because they're still selling and things like that. So one thing that I don't know, another area that I was planning, beginning of the year, I was planning on going down, and then just because of the lack of time, I didn't really focus on it as much, was publishing the same way I published the coloring books through Amazon. I was planning on talking to different companies, like places that are like provide a service, like say if you're a personal trainer or something like that, and designing, like if they have a lot of the stuff they would already have, like a printout or something like that, or a PDF where it's their workout regimen or something that they work with, where their clients is, and put that in a book form and brand it with their branding and everything. And then each time they bring on a new client or whatever, then I would earn a royalty from that. And you can do that with a number of different businesses, whether it's real estate or whatever. And I had a few clients and stuff, and we did them, but and they ordered a few in the beginning, but then they didn't continue to order them. So that's something I would probably have to work on. So that was an endeavor that I still think is viable, but I didn't focus on it enough because of all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
that may be something I return to. So that was something. And then yeah, so I think that's pretty much like the big wins. And then as far as losses go, well, another one. So there were some big wins with like the educational comics I did, but there were also, it was kind of like some good things and some bad things about it. Like the first comic we did, we got halfway through with it, and then the client, something happened. I'm not sure the full story, but something happened where they just decided to pull the plug on the whole project. Now, the good thing is we got paid for all the work we did and everything, but it didn't really get to see the light of day. Now we may be able to, I think we're going to take some of that material, like some of the characters and things we created, and repurpose them to create some kind of promotion to get more clients doing that, because it's still great work and everything. So that one kind of, that first project didn't really come to fruition, but the second one we worked on, I got it right here. Yeah, this book here. And we showed this off, I think, on the last show here. But this comic, I mean, this came out awesome. And this is a comic book. So for this, I got to basically, I actually illustrated the cover, but it's based on the penciler's rough sketch. So they kind of came up with the concept. I illustrated the cover, and then the penciler inker did all the inside and everything. But I wrote it and I art directed it, and it's cool. It was just cool to see that come together. But the idea was that we were going to take this to Saudi Arabia. So I was supposed to have like an all expenses paid trip to Saudi Arabia and do all that kind of stuff. And then in the end, just a number of circumstances happened and I didn't get to go. That trip didn't happen, but the book did get complete, and we got it out there, and it was at the trade show and everything, and everyone dug it. So it turned out that turned out pretty good. So that was kind of somewhere in the middle there. A lot of good things, but then a couple drawbacks. But that's kind of the case with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then things that I, my Patreon kind of I haven't really concentrated on as much as I should. So it took a little hit. But I'm, I kind of want to take another look at that once I get into doing this new content that I'm going to be doing on YouTube. And I think I can bring that back better than ever before. So if you are a
Scott,
Patreon,
like from what you've talked about, without giving anything away to the audience or whatever, but the new content that you're talking about creating would tie in so much with stuff you could do.
Oh yeah.
Tied in with Patreon. Like that would be really fun, I think, for people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because it's like, I was putting out, one thing that I was doing for the patrons was I was putting out my videos early for them. And I'm going to get back to this week. You guys will have an early video, but I've been so busy just over the holiday season that I basically finished the video like right before it goes up. There's like no time to put it up early. So, but we'll get back to that. So if you are a patron, just hang on. I'm getting back to giving you guys some content there. But then it's weird because I was doing a series like behind the scenes of what I'm doing with like a studio, and some of them didn't get any views at all. So it's like, maybe I'm guessing I haven't heard any complaints. I'm guessing some of the patrons just want to support me, and they don't necessarily, maybe they don't have time to watch all that stuff or whatever. So, but I do want to get back to that, next year and really provide some value there. So, and Patreon was never like a big, it didn't bring in tons of money, but but it's something that you've got to really concentrate. You can't just do it half-ass. You've got to really, really, put your heart into that. So, and I plan to do that moving forward. Social media was a weird thing. I think my goal in the beginning of the year, my goal was to post more on social media, which I did not do. If you follow me, I'm never on Facebook. I'm never on Instagram or any of that stuff other than YouTube. But honestly, I don't care because it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I don't miss it. Again, once I get back to the new content, I think some of that stuff, I think there'll be some opportunities to share some of that stuff on different platforms. So that it's a possibility, but I make that goal every year that I'm going to be more active on social media, and I never hit it. And I'm never really disappointed that I don't hit it. Especially, it seems like if you follow Cory, but there's just so much stuff going on that I'm just not a big fan of with social media. So I don't know.
The hilarious part is the year where you're on point on social media will be the year you get like completely canceled on every single channel because you say something racy on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's one I don't know if I'll be back on. I don't know. We'll see.
Mastodon's where it's at, man.
Yeah. Well, don't tell that to the comic lab guys.
Oh, I know. They are wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong about a lot of stuff, but you can take anything they say with a grain of salt. They're wrong definitely wrong about print on demand. I mean,
shots
I see where
fired.
They're coming from.
You hear that, comic lab? Yeah. You hear that?
We're coming for you.
Yeah, I mean, what they say about print on demand, I mean, they're somewhat right, but they don't know the full story, and they don't know some of the opportunities that there are with print on demand. And
comic lab, do you hear that? You don't know. That's what Scott said. He said you don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so but but they're doing quite well. So what do I know? But the other thing is, let's see. So one of the things I wanted to do was start like kind of an artist community, and whether that was a Discord or something through Patreon or whatever. And I even signed up with, and I'm still paying for it, and I'm still part of the group, but I just haven't been active. But Tom Ross from Design Cuts has a side business where it's all about building communities and stuff. But that's something I think I'm just kind of waiting again for with this, because I think the new content that I'm going to be doing on YouTube, it's custom made for, I think I could build a really engaged community around that. So but I definitely, I think I was maybe trying to put the cart before the horse on that one. So that one didn't really happen. And I guess that's pretty much it. The only other thing that didn't really pan out so well was the beginning of this year. I was working on an NFT project, and it's just crazy from where we were in the beginning of the year with NFTs to where we are now. But and I'm still, it was kind of a weird thing because we completed the project. I guess we sort of launched it, but it didn't really we didn't sell it. It was a bad time to launch it even back then. And then we were going to relaunch it, and it just was never the right time. And then everything crashed, and I don't know. I maybe I dodged a bullet with that. I'm not
maybe
sure.
You dodged a bullet.
Dodged a bullet. I don't know. So, but anyway, so that definitely didn't pan out because in the beginning, I was thinking that this was a good opportunity for artists.
Like trading cards or something like that.
Well, yeah, and I was looking at it more, and I was definitely not in the mindset that, oh, get these, you're going to get rich and all that. It wasn't any of that. It was just if you're somebody who likes to collect things, if you're a collector, to me it was no different than Pokemon, where you could look at a Pokemon card and really it's a piece of paper, but it's worth quite a bit of money. So
you hear that Pokemon
digital
shots fired.
So I don't know, but that didn't really pan out. But it is kind of what it is. I think if I would have got into it maybe a month or two even early, may have had something successful, because I've followed some people that had some success with it and everything. So but anyway, but I'm not too upset about that. So anyway, that was pretty much my year. So
it's a crazy year. You got a ton done, and it is funny, like, hearing you walk through this. I'm sure this will happen with Cory as well, but it's like I'm remembering each of these moments. Gary said for his 2022, he drew 46 pages of Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, 1979, without losing his mind entirely. In other keywords, not entirely. I like that. Kayla said the other big thing I did in 2022 was get my first graphic design job.
Nice.
Also, Kayla, I was curious, did you walk? Like, because you finished all your classes and stuff. Have you done the walk or whatever? The one thing I never imagined when I was a student and you have to do the graduation stuff and you're like, which side does the tassel go on and stuff like that. When I ended up teaching college, all the professors were like, which side does the tassel go on again? I can't remember, like, what, it's anyhow, that was a funny thing. But Christopher Runsman said Josh is a magician, I think, regarding the trick where I conjured, I can conjure comics just out of the blue. Like, I can just make comic books float through the air at a whim.
Christopher also said he had a Striper song stuck in his head, and I honestly, I don't think I know a single Striper song.
I don't really know their songs. I just know their album covers
that band before my life.
Yeah, I only know their album covers because when you started getting into metal and you go to like Warehouse Music or whatever,
like Yellow and Black Attack. I remember the T-shirts and stuff, and
I just know, like, you're perusing through the metal albums and then you're like, what the hell?
They definitely had a brand. They definitely had a brand. And I don't know. I mean, I think there's some significance, and you guys would probably know this, but there's some significance to those colors, and I guess from the Bible or something. I thought.
I don't know. I thought they were doing like Killer Bees, We Are the Swarm before Wu-Tang, and then Philip said I was like some kind of necromancer. Thank you, Philip. Let's see. Philip Chandler also said, I don't like to visit 2022. It was so awful, but one great highlight was meeting Josh. It was nice meeting you. We'll get into that. Gary said, regarding Patreon, I can tell you I support a few people on Patreon and rarely look at it. Same with me. I don't really watch a ton of Patreon stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And then Kayla said, I walk in April. My job is counting as an internship. So I finished all my classes, but I officially graduate this year. Good job, Kayla. Good for you finishing it up. All right. Cory, it is your turn to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of last year.
Oh,
Do I
man.
have to talk about the bad again?
You don't have to. You can talk about what you're going to talk about. I will say though, what was it, Comics Lab that you guys were?
Yeah.
If you're out there, Comics Lab, I don't know if
we're not
Scott
starting to
mentioned
beef
this.
with Comic Lab.
Scott didn't mention this, but one of the year goals, this is just a sneak preview for next week, is to start beef with you, Comics Lab.
Oh, great.
And this guy, Scott Cirkland,
Great.
anyhow, said you didn't know anything.
I think Scott and I are both patrons of Comic Lab.
We're both fans of Comic Lab, but I just, like I said, they're very knowledgeable on a lot of things, but I think there's a little bit of because of that, I think they think they're knowledgeable about things that they're not knowledgeable about too.
Oh, shots fired. See, there you go. It's the
All
beef
right.
starts today.
I'll say this for the internet fame, I will fight you. Let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna run down the negative as fast as possible, just to give some context on why I didn't get as much stuff done. So I started the year off with COVID as well. That was a couple months after. So not in 2022, but the end of 2021, I got lung puncture, broke my collarbone in 2 places. I have 6 inches of titanium holding that together now. I broke 7 ribs. Ribs 2 through 8, about 3 inches to the right of my spine. And then I healed, and that was great. And so I started the year, I was really excited, healed. I was able to do some speed walking and some working up to maybe running or whatever. And then I got COVID. And so fast forward a little bit.
And this is like pre-Omicron COVID, right?
What's that?
Pre-Omicron COVID too. So it was a little worse, I think, than
Omicron. It was. I mean, it wasn't like bad, but it took me out for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, no lasting symptoms or anything. I had to get an antibiotic to kind of knock out the stuff that kind of lingered past a couple weeks. Then fast forward a couple months, I got kind of a cold, and then I went on a Z-Pack, and then I found something out medically that's interesting. That my mom and I share a trait that when we get pneumonia, the normal signs of pneumonia do not show up. And so I had 3 different doctors and 2 different PAs all rule out pneumonia while I had pneumonia, because it doesn't show up on x-rays for me. It doesn't, my O2 levels don't drop, and you can't hear anything in my lungs. So I did an antibiotic. I did some steroids. All of that made everything a lot worse. Ended up being hospitalized with pneumonia and a lung abscess. And then while I was in the hospital, they did a bunch of garbage that was wrong, because I had the correct diagnosis, but because I had to get a CT scan, that's the only way that you can see that stuff for me, for some reason. Everybody else's x-rays are fine. But they did a bunch of wrong things, because one of the doctors said the wrong diagnosis, and somehow that stuck for a few days. Anyway, so after getting out of that, I got back home, and not to get too graphic, actually this is pretty graphic, but like I kind of ignored it until I was like coughing up blood. Like it was kind of like Edgar Allan Poe style stuff. I was like, so finally my wife made me go to the doctor, because normally I just ignore stuff until it goes away. But this year is the year of Cory can't ignore things, because it will kill him if he ignores them. So while I was on the 3rd really heavy antibiotic, during that antibiotic, I got a 2nd case of pneumonia in a different place in my lung, which just confounded the doctors. They were very confused about that. So I had a antibacterial resistant strain of pneumonia while I was fighting the first pneumonia, while I was fighting the lung abscess that happened because my lung didn't totally heal from the puncture from a few months ago. So beat that. And then it's been fine until recently, where I'm probably on the track to get pneumonia again. So that's health. Kind of annoying most
How
of
many,
the time.
how many medical journals do you star in?
Yeah, I don't know. My doctor, like I was like, hey, you know the what is that called? Where it's if you hear hoof prints or if you hear hoof sounds, assume it's a horse, not a zebra. There's a term for that. Anyway, I told him medically I'm always the zebra, so you need to be aware of that. So
Cory
anyway,
is
so all of
always
that,
the zebra.
yes, the yellow and black zebra. So, but I got before this most recent round of this, I was getting back to the point where I could get into some speed walking again. I was doing 4 or 5 pull-ups at a time. So like my shoulder had completely healed and everything, and I can put weight on this and all that. So all that's good. We went away for a weekend and came back to, we had somebody come and look at our washing machine because it was doing some weird stuff. And they said, no, everything's fine. Nothing's wrong with it. And so then we left for the weekend, and the washing machine was not fine. And for 48 hours, it flooded our house and poured water out of the front. And so it destroyed my studio and the basement and the bathroom downstairs and the kitchen and the dining room and the living room upstairs. And so for about 3 months, we just lived in like an open construction zone with a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, with like drywall being ripped out and like exposed, all kinds of things, all the things that are inside of the walls that you don't want your 1-year-old to eat or lick or grab or whatever. And so all of that happened. And then I think, yep. So during the year, we had a refrigerator fail, our dishwasher fail, our washing machine fail, our microwave go out. At one point in time, we had to call the fire department because we smelled gas in our house, and it was our oven that was leaking gas into the house. And so we've basically had to replace like every major appliance in our house except for the furnace and the water heater, which I don't want to say anything to anger whatever gremlin lives in my house to destroy things, but I hope that those don't go out. So that's most of the negative stuff. There's probably other things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot you're leaving out, honestly.
I just want people to realize with all this rough stuff, because when we get into what Cory did accomplish despite all this stuff, I think you're going to be amazed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a lot less done than I wanted to, but yeah. So some minor challenges and hospitalizations and renovations. At one point in time, at the end of the year, as the weather was getting colder, I had to move my studio into my garage.
I remember Artcasters fans should remember this because there were quite a few episodes of Artcasters where, as Cory was talking, it looked like he was on a set of Winterfell in Game of Thrones, where there's just like puffs of exhaust coming out of his mouth as he's speaking.
You know the TV shows where like they send the scientists to the Antarctic and they have to like bundle up with the fur hoods, and it got to the point where the last time I live streamed when it was 4 degrees outside. And I measured, I was 6 feet from the metal garage door, which isn't insulated, and so Josh and Scott are like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not okay. I had like several down jackets on. I had thermal underwear. I had a heater that was like 2 feet from me, just blowing directly on my back.
I thought we were going to see Cory like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, where he's just all frozen.
And it had this visual impact of like a conspiracy theorist, like, from their basement, just like, I'm going to tell you guys the deep, dark truth of the social media sites and how they're measuring and collecting your data. And there's like freezing cold, like exhaust coming from his mouth. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
Poor Cory.
So
it's been a rough year.
But on the upside, I was, because of that, I was able to redo my studio. And so it's much more open now with a brand new floor to it. And I don't have to, no one's really seen it before, but I had to kind of like scoot by things kind of sideways before because I was floating the desk in the middle. This is a much better layout. So I rewired the room because I send, if you look over here, no, sorry, wrong. If you look over here, you'll see the computer. And I send stuff from that computer to different parts of my house. And so I have a series of switches that I can hit where it sends it to my theater room and the projector or the TV or whatever. And so I can play video games or watch movies in different parts of the house based on the computer because I rewired things.
And
also,
when Cory talks about his series of switches, you have to imagine that in like Liam Neeson's voice, where it's like, I have a series of switches that I can use.
I have a series of switches that I've honed over the years. Yeah. So, okay, good things. I started the year with a sabbatical. That was pretty cool. So I was able to move my family to California during the winter, which was really nice. And so I worked on I'll show some of this stuff in a minute, but I worked on an animated short film with a number of students and graduates called Shades. And if you haven't seen it, you can watch it for free. Oh, Keeman says, nice studio. Thank you. And that was really good. And I was able to avoid the Rexburg winter, which was also really nice. I got a lot of kayaking done and stuff. And that was when I was still building up enough strength to be able to like at the start of the year, I wasn't strong enough to like lift a kayak or any of my kids or anything. But a couple months later, by the time I was done, I had been rowing in Morro Bay and in a couple other areas enough to where I had built up enough strength. So that was really nice. And having the time to be able to dedicate full time to a project was nice as well. So that was a huge benefit. And my job, I get to do that every 5 years. So
yeah, sabbatical was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're rad. It's schools that understand education. They invest in the teachers' experiences, and I work at a school that really values teachers that are relevant and up to date and stuff. And so that was neat. I'll jump over to let me jump over here to I'll just go through some of the things that I made. And so let's jump to this and then go here. So the first thing that I drew in the year, this is January 5th, was the Scribble game with my daughter. And so we were just kind of getting stuff set up in California. And so I like to do this where she'll scribble something and then I'll turn it into something. And this one I liked, so I digitally painted it. And then a lot of these are based on stuff that was in Shades. And so here's an animation test, that I was doing that eventually turned into a colored version of that eventually kind of did, let's see, I think I have that here. Let's see. Maybe I don't. But the Shades is a short film where the same composition gets reskinned over and over again because it's talking about augmented reality. And so this is the first test that I was doing to kind of explain what I meant by that. And so it was really fun to experiment with different styles that I don't normally play with. I kind of enjoyed painting a lot of these in fresco, in oil and paper cutout, kind of doing some mid-century UPA stuff. Here's that kind of animation test to kind of show like what was going on there. And then again, I was kind of experimenting with different styles of things. And so I don't normally do like digital painting, but this is more of like a charcoal pastel. And this is over Two-Headed Giants sketch. And that was really fun as well, as I was able to collaborate with a bunch of people. And so we would do different parts of it. So somebody might sketch something and somebody else would ink it and color it, and somebody else might animate it or something like that. And so you can see like different styles of things. And so each one of these that we were able to do kind of ended up being like reskinned as different things. And here's me out on Morro Bay in the kayak, which was really fun. And so I got a folding kayak because I wasn't strong enough to lift a normal kayak at the time. And so we were able to kind of spend a lot of time at the beach, which is fun for us landlocked Idahoans to kind of be able to do that. So let's see, I'll speed past a few of these. So here's a lot of the stuff that we kind of did. I really enjoyed just trying to do the weirdest stuff that we could think of. And so this is one that I came up with where I had a squirrel riding a T-Rex. And so we just came up with, and this is the same composition. We have a barbarian riding a giant lizard. We also went up to Portland, and I did some kind of digital paintings of some of the hikes that we went on up in the kind of Portland and Seattle kind of Northwest areas, which is fun as well. So,
did you do those on the iPad then?
Yeah, so I think that was Fresco. I did most of this kind of on the iPad in Fresco.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So my normal, if you see anything kind of watercolor, like the sky in this sea slide, that's going to be Fresco. If you see, I didn't do these buildings. So the buildings, they were done by Abby Christman, I believe. And then I did the ink and color on the spider, and then the animation on these. So animation on that as well. And then here's that kind of test that I did originally. It kind of ended up in this scene like that. And so we're kind of playing with some of those things. And then I played a lot with smear frames. Yeah, smear frames were really fun. So if you look, I think I might have a shot of this actually. Yeah, so stuff like this where it moves so quickly that when you would be looking at the real thing, your mind would blur it. But I don't like the idea of motion blur. And so animators have come up with this kind of like idea of like smear frames. And so I went through and just did some of these kind of smear frames. And then here's some photos of kind of our get together. So we got to see Jim and Josh and their families kind of came and joined us at my parents' house. And I tried to convince everybody to go. I tried to convince everyone to go kayaking. And literally the day that I was telling them about this, there was a very rare, almost never happens, shark attack where somebody was killed by a great white in the Central Coast, which rarely happens. But I did happen to be in the water in the kayak the morning that happened. And so I think that kind of freaked everybody out. And they said,
I mean, why couldn't you add a shark attack to your laundry list of medical experiences?
Oh, that didn't happen to me though. That happened near me.
No, I know. I'm saying, why couldn't you?
Yeah, right.
Come on, Cory.
That's definitely, that's definitely possible. So
you were so close.
Yeah, I was close. So we went and hung out and did some tide pooling and things like that. So it was really fun. It was fun of you guys to come and visit. Here's one that I did with Gumminelli. You guys remember we've had her on the show. So I sketched this, she painted it, and then I animated it kind of obviously in a Dr. Seuss style. So I'll just skip past a few more of these. This is an example of like the same composition, but done in different styles, which is kind of the whole thing. I'm spending too much time on shades. I had an idea
that's not surprising. Shades is kind of a overwhelming undertaking. Like, and if you guys haven't checked it out yet, there's a lot of work in that. It's kind of stunning. So check it out.
Yeah, it did take 3 months of my life. So it was big. I have a really cool idea about time breaking, slowly kind of breaking down, and I'll do this comic at some point, but I had to get these pages out of my head. So I did this page where you can kind of see people from different eras kind of all crowded in the same thing. There's some Easter eggs in there and stuff. And then I did this page where you have the same newscasters but in different eras and different styles because time is kind of falling apart. So there's some kind of comic sketches, pencils that I was doing. Then I just kind of took a break and played with some animation. Annoyingly, this is why I hate social media, that this stupid pencil sketch that I did to test this did way better numbers than the actual finished product. Because social media is stupid and it's pointless. I hate it. Anyway, but this is another example of a smear frame. This is probably one of my favorite smear frames that I've done. Just really enjoyed kind of that smear frame. So there's kind of the pencil sketch thing, and then the finished kind of the finished animation. And I have been using this a little bit in some of my more recent videos as kind of a title card. So just trying to do some fun stuff. Let's see. So there's some more of that. Then I started a comic. What did I call this?
Ye Old Modernity.
Yeah, Ye Old Modernity. Yeah. So I started a comic, Ye Old Modernity, Modern Problems in Ancient Times. And I think I released about 4 of those. I've still got a few written that I will get to at some point in time, but these are kind of, I developed like a whole series of characters that are kind of based on like archetypes. So I have like wizards and sorcerers and witches kind of represent like the software engineers and tech bros and those types of things. And then I have like kind of kings and queens and royalty representing like politicians. And anyway, so this is fun. And I enjoyed the style. It was nice to do kind of a more limited color palette. So I did a few of those. I'll show you some of those so you can see some of these guys. So at the time, my 4-year-old son and I were playing a lot of Castle Crashers. If you know that game, you'll recognize the inspiration for kind of the body proportions and things. So anyway, so we're just talking about just kind of making fun of social media and stuff. And then I finished the live action portion of Shades with my buddy Christian Mullen, who has also been on the show, and released that. And it is playing in the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival soon. It's cool. Kind of doing that. And then I went to a rare bookstore, and this rare bookstore was called Moon's Rare Books. And they found out that I was an artist, and the curator said, hey, come with me. And so she took me back behind this like vault door. And I got to see, I'm trying to remember the years. I think it was a 15th century illustrated Bible and a 17th century illustrated Shakespearean book. And I'm really into Shakespeare. And so I was just looking at these for a couple hours, and I took a couple photos here. And that kind of spawned the current project that I've been working on, the Esoteric Crumble Flux. But I mean, just the detail of these things. This isn't anything that I did, but this is the inspiration for the last part of the year is just looking at these things. So then I started and I did a little Farrah Fawcett sketch trying to see if I could get like different tonal values and stuff. This is a sketch, and that's why her face is all jacked up and the anatomy is not great. But then I started playing with different concepts and ideas of having kind of some kind of heraldry kind of influences, plus some like tarot card influences, plus like that kind of idea that kind of spawned from the Ye Old Modernity of having like modern things represented with ancient things. And so I started to kind of develop these concepts and these ideas of having kind of these things. And at the same time, I started to chase my curiosity on things that could end the world, which is a fascinating subject because there's just so many, like life is so fragile. And I think we take for granted the fact that we still exist as humans on this planet. But I So I started studying a bunch of different ways that things can end, and I'm doing an illustration on each of those ways, and they're not all the types of things that you would think. Like some of them are like this one, Stop Numbing and Feel, is talking about all the different ways that we distract ourselves, and one of the ways that society could end is that we actually focus so much on distraction that we lose sight of basic points of survival. And so this kind of has a lot of like religious iconography in it with the kind of Pope hat mixed with the Illuminati stuff, and like kind of Renaissance Sacred Heart, but replace the Sacred Heart with a phone, and then all of the different types of things that we can use to distract ourselves. And let's see. So then this one is a lot less deep. It's just, I think politicians are crap, and I thought I'd represent politicians by having them be involved in like a carrion kind of insect. So like the housefly that's kind of drawn to feces and rot and decay and corruption. That's like flies. Their role in kind of the circle of life is to like corrupt things and break them down and ruin them so that they decay. And so I kind of did some of that, and I was playing with some kind of brushes and stuff in that. So it's been really fun to kind of look at just pure inks, which I think is where my true love lies. I don't really like color that much. And so I've been trying to focus on that type of thing. And because I was doing those, this is very common. If you start doing stuff that you really enjoy, then you get hired to do that type of thing. And so somebody approached me and said, "Hey, I love what you did. Why don't you do a logo for me?" So this is a logo that I did for a brand that'll be coming out soon called Surf Skull, which is going to be a Santa Cruz brand. It's basically a helmet for surfers that looks like a hat. And so that was really fun to work with them. Then I did another one of these, Resist Programming. This one is based on the seraphim in the Bible. And so when you look at the description of the angels, there's different classes of angels and things. And one of them is a seraphim, and they are a 6-winged creature or whatever. But you also have kind of a mixture of like TV and radio and broadcast type things. And then what we do online is like we spill our guts. We're just like share everything. We just share it all. And so I mixed like gut spilling with like electronics, and then it's being circled by like notifications, symbols. And then this is all based on the pose of the Vitruvian Man. And so we have the kind of the same like kind of Vitruvian Man thing kind of mixed with the rest of the kind of symbols. So that was a really fun one to do, more playing with kind of like black and white again as well. Then I got really sick of billionaires doing stupid crap and invading all of our privacy. So I jumped onto Mastodon, and I won't go too much into that, but you guys should get on Mastodon. It is an open source, federated, decentralized thing. And it's not decentralized in the same way. Like when you hear decentralized, you usually think of like crypto and stuff like that, which actually isn't decentralized. Crypto and NFTs and all of those things claim decentralization, but they're not. But Mastodon actually is decentralized. And so no one could buy it because there's nothing to buy. There's just a bunch of different instances and stuff. Anyway, without going on too much of a rant, I jumped on that, and that's been fun. I really enjoyed that. It's like the internet in the early 2000s, before there was algorithmically driven timelines and stupid garbage like that. Another way that the society could end is if we lose bees. And we have kind of two problems going on with bees. I won't go into that too much. I did a whole video on this, but one is that we're just using one type of bee to fertilize all of our plants, all of our crops. Like a third of our crops in America, and I think 70% of the crops in Europe are fertilized by one type of bee. And so if that type of bee has like a colony collapse, that can be a really big problem. The other problem is that we're encroaching on wild spaces. And so wild pollinators, like wild bees, of which there are a huge variety, don't have the same natural environments that they used to, because we keep ruining them. So there's another one of kind of esoteric crumble flux. This is also a t-shirt that is available if you want to see that. And so there's some of those close-ups. And then let's look at this one, I think, is the last one I did last year, which would be I just keep seeing people help the things that are going to destroy them. And I don't know why we're actively helping AI. I don't know why we're actively helping all of these things that are currently done in an unethical way. Like, I realize that these types of progress are going to be around, but they don't have to be developed in a predatory and unethical way. They can be developed in a different way, but they're not currently doing that. And people are just on board doing that. By the way, if you're using Adobe, there is a new setting in Adobe's back end that is by default checked to say that you allow Adobe to analyze your images to learn deep machine learning. So go turn that off so that, you know, you're not helping put yourself out of work with that and feeding the algorithm, those types of things. So, and then I started doing my video series again. And so I've been doing video essays. I don't think I've done video essays for a number of years, but I've started doing these video essays again of having kind of like an explanation of why I'm designing the things I'm designing. I think that's kind of the problem with some of the products that I do is they take an explanation. But for those people that are, you know, into that type of thing and want a good conversation starter, I think they're good products. But they're not like, you know, it's not Wonder Woman running around in cosplay as Rick Sanchez or something. So, you know, they're not going to be big sellers. But if you're interested in kind of the intellectual side of things, I did get back into that. I've enjoyed kind of doing the email newsletter again and the video essays with those types of things. And I've kind of slowed down and stopped producing stuff really fast. And I've started producing stuff where it takes me a week or maybe a week and a half to produce an image. Because they're very intricate and well thought out, and then also well researched. And then I add kind of an essay to kind of go along with it. So those are some of the things that I accomplished. I wish I had have done twice that, but it's hard to do stuff in the hospital. So
it seemed like a lot to me.
Yeah, like honestly, for those of you who don't have the highest of output in art, put yourself in half of Cory's situations and try to match his output. That's insane. Cool. Well, I remember a lot of that stuff. It's fun to go through these because it's like I've been with you guys throughout the year, so it's kind of fun to recap. Yeah. I guess I should jump into mine unless there's anything else you guys want to.
Oh, let's hear yours.
Go ahead, Josh.
Cool. All right. So I started the year by getting this beauty. Which is you
got to go full screen on that. Hold on a second.
Yeah, so that is a Epiphone Les Paul 1959 made by Gibson. So it's like a recreation of a 1959 Gibson Les Paul with Gibson ProBuckers. And with that, I created 2 albums, No Emperors and Good Bees Don't Die, because I've been on a bee. Cory and I are psychically linked, and I've been on a bee thing lately too. And so those 2 albums were albums I recorded and mastered and released this year. So 2 full albums, one with like 20 plus tracks and one with about 10. And I recommend you guys check those out. It's No Saboteurs, the band. So those, and
you have music videos on quite a few of those, right?
I didn't do music videos for these ones.
Was that last year? That was
that was last year. Yeah.
Okay.
So no music videos, but 2 full albums. So I feel good about that. I did. Let's see. At the top of the year, I did about 26 pages of 2 Stories Book 2, which are penciled, inked, and ready to go. Which is the sequel to 2 Stories. I finished the latter half. I think the second half of the thumbnails for all 144 pages of it. So that is ready and in the cooker, ready to go. I released Jacob's Apartment. Let me make sure I'm kind of following this in sequence. So I got a publishing deal with Graphic Mundi and released Jacob's Apartment, 128 full color graphic novel. I, with that release, went to Toronto. Before going to Toronto, I had a lovely vacation to Cambria where we met up with Cory, Jim Lujan, Jim's wife, my family. Like we all kind of went up to Cambria and kind of hung out, and it was an excellent trip. It's like one of those trips where you know people online and then you hang out with them, and this has been true for Cory and Scott. When we've hung out in person, it's like these are the type of people, like I wish we all lived closer because we'd be hanging out all the time. Like just excellent people. So we hung out. We got to see some elephant seals, and we found the best cafe in that area. So if we ever go to Cambria again, we're going to be hanging at that coffee shop. And just had a really good time, and again, like connected and bonded. After that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was bummed I missed out on that one.
Yeah, it was a bummer. It felt like there was a Scott-sized hole that whole time.
Yeah, but during that same trip, I think I met up with you guys when you guys came back to LA. So
100%. Yeah, this year has been good for meetups, and I'm kind of with you, Scott, in the sense that I definitely want those to happen more because I feel like I don't know. Anne of Green Gables calls it kindred spirits when you meet like a friend who's like a really good friend, and there's like a connection there, and I feel that way about all of you guys. I still have yet to meet up with Gary Hodges. And I'm excited about hopefully maybe we can do like an Arizona thing or something.
Yeah, he wasn't able to make the road trip because I said he could just ride with me. So maybe next time, next time when we go down, we can.
That's true. And Gary, think about it. Like you guys could do a full like Fear and Loathing recreation where like Scott can be your lawyer and you can just get crazy drugged up and like trip out on your way to California. It'll be the reverse. It's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, except flipped. You're heading the other direction.
I can promise you shark-free kayaking if you guys come to Idaho. So
don't trust him. Don't trust him.
There are no sharks up here.
If Cory's there, the shark's gonna come close to him and it's gonna get you. That's Cory's luck.
It's like Jaws the Revenge. It's just gonna travel because it was trying to get Cory that time, but it missed this opportunity.
And then it'll be another near-death story where he's like, man, you won't believe it. My friend got eaten by a great white shark the other day. Everybody will be like, yeah, that's Cory. So Gary said, ha, ha, ha. Okay. That was the best comment we've received so far. Let's see here. Okay, what else? Gas prices went up to the point where when you fill a tank, it costs over $60 in California. So it's close to $70 to fill a gas tank. That's
fun. A small car. That's not a big gas guzzling.
No, this is like a little Honda. That's Honda prices. So that's been a fun thing this year. Let's see what else. Okay, so Jacob's Apartment, when it came out, I got a lot of press for it. I was in a lot of local newspapers, and that was really fun. I got a lot of support from our community who pre-ordered it, asked libraries to get it, and have been really supportive of everything I do, and I really appreciate you guys. We got a new car because our car died. So we ended up getting a new car. I ended up going to Toronto Comics and Arts Festival, and that was amazing. And I ended up meeting up with Philip Chandler as well as with my publisher, and having drinks and having a blast, and meeting a lot of comics fans in Canada, which was incredible. and I did my first panel at a Comic-Con, which was awesome, where it was about neurodiversity represented in comics, which is a perfect topic for me. It was funny too, because it was like neurodiversity and mental illness, and it was like the two things I've read. It's like the two topics that I write about the most. So I have gotten a publishing deal for Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and that's a story written by my sister. And I've gotten through, at this point, I'm not where I need to be, but I've gotten through 64 of those pages. So total this year, if I add the 64 to the 23, I've done 70, 80, 87 pages of comics in the year. And 64 of those are full color, which is kind of crazy. So I've definitely upped my production on comics, which I feel successful about. I was fortunate enough to have had an alternate cover. I'm surprised Cory didn't mention this. But Cory as well, for Scott Circlin's Young and the Dead, which you guys should get the most recent issue once it comes out. Keep an eye on it. That's going to be incredible. And I think that pretty much catches me up with the year. Professionally, just as an art director, my company has made record-breaking sales in the year. And a lot of that has to do with the art that I've led and my team has made. And so on a professional level, outside of what I do with comics and stuff like that, I've never really had a better year. And so that's been incredible. The downside of this year is I kind of, I've talked about this on my show quite a lot. And when I live stream and stuff like that, where I try to kind of push myself to really hard extremes, and I pushed myself a little too hard, and I had a nervous breakdown mid-year and was hospitalized for a little bit. And so that was stupid. And a lot of that was driven by not sleeping and not taking care of myself. And so lesson learned, and obviously not a fun lesson to learn, but I appreciate the support of friends and the Artcasters and the community and stuff. And so like the plus of this year was my live streaming really picked up. The community really built. The downside is like the last month or so, I haven't really live streamed. And so that'll tie into like next week, and we'll get more into that next week with goals and stuff for the upcoming year. But things have really been pretty positive, and looking at the year, it's been kind of incredible just seeing what's been accomplished. And then the fact that Scott and Cory and Jim Lujan and Jeremy Burley and Ken Mora and like a bunch of us got to meet up in LA was a real highlight of the year as well. And it was hilarious kind of perusing bars with Scott and Jim and Jeremy at like 2 a.m, like walking around like
the not an art gallery, but it's like a what do you call it? Thrift store.
Oh yeah. There was an antique. We went antiquing, and what's hilarious is Cory's cousin, I think, was like, "Oh man, like if we were with a bunch of chicks, they'd want to go antiquing or something." And we're like, "Yeah, you don't understand. We all want to go antiquing." And there were so many good bits and just funny things, like Jim Lujan had this whole riff on like the restaurant owner, and like I don't know, it incredible people. If you guys haven't checked out Jim Lujan's channel, Jeremy Burley's channel, all of these guys, like you should be Ken Mora, like check out these guys' stuff. Like they're incredible people, just as people. But it was really cool to be able to meet up and meet Scott in person as well for the second time, because I met Scott a while ago. We met up, and there's a famous photograph, not really famous, but you guys have probably seen it, where we're comparing comic book page sizes.
My double page spread doesn't even add up to his one single page spread.
And if anyone's curious, that's just me compensating. That's all. But anyhow, so yeah, and then to highlight the year, I saw this beautiful comparison with Cory's new walls and this, and that made my year. But yeah, so yeah, overall, it's been a really fun year. Artcasters, I'm always appreciative of it. I think this year more than ever, I think you guys would agree. It feels like this year, the friendship that we've all kind of built has kind of become more solidified, and it's neat when like a virtual friendship can be a real friendship, where it's like you guys are sincerely people I'd put myself in front of a car to protect or whatever, as long as the car wasn't moving. If it were moving, I'd just push it. Just kidding. But anyhow, it's been a fun year, and it's been a lot of really heavy highs and lows. Like some of my dreams were achieved this year, and at the same time, like there's the hardship of that we're all kind of dealing with life and balance and stuff like that. So I'm eager for the next year, and I'm eager for our next episode, which I believe will be on Cory's channel next week, where we're going to go over, our goals for next year. I think none of us really like the word resolution, so I think we'll just stick with goals for the next year. But overall, I have to say, just like hearing you guys go over all that you accomplished in a year, I'm just kind of like, again, like I'm stoked to be a part of being able to hang out with you guys and be inspired by your output and what you guys do, as well as our audience, man. So you guys out there who are watching, I'm eager to hear if you haven't done this in the chats now, like do it after the fact. Let us know in the comments what all you've accomplished in the last year in 2022, and what you did for New Year's and stuff. So yeah, I think this was fun.
Yeah, it's always good to kind of catch up and review it, because you don't really think about it until you start going back and looking at your previous year and like, wow, we really did a lot, didn't we? Yeah. So
yeah, and it's nuts because it's like when you're built like I think we are, where it's just kind of constantly moving and making and putting out stuff. It's hard to remind yourself to like stop and like look at what you've done so far, because I think a lot of us are very much like the next day, like every day is kind of a fresh opportunity. So like looking back even a week, much less a year, and going like, oh, I actually got some stuff done. It's kind of a weird thing to do, but I think valuable.
Yeah.
I always just feel bad that I didn't do more. That's I could have done.
I think you have some good excuses, and I think you still got tons of
I
done,
know.
so.
I know, but I mean, had I not had health issues and my house blow up, I think I could have got twice as much done.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, Cory, that's next year's goal. No house issues or house blowing up. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, my next year's goal or this year's goal is just don't go to the hospital. That's goal number one. And then I think I'll be doing well. If I don't burn my house down or something like that, then I'll be doing all right. I honestly don't know what to say next week, because I've been in survival mode for so long that looking ahead is it'll be good. It'll be good to look ahead a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. You've been hit by a lot of curveballs this year, but I do feel like in the coming year, hopefully it's not as much, Philip said, I was visiting my aunt over the holidays, but everyone turned in early on New Year's, so I just sat up, ate food, watched TikTok videos, and then the countdown on TV. That's awesome. I wasn't even awake during the countdown, to be frank. I was passed out. Like, we got the kid to sleep, and then it was like, you know what I'm doing for New Year's? I'm sleeping because I'm old.
I like staying up, but yeah, this time I just took some NyQuil and slept for 15 hours. So that was.
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys watching like what is it? Comics Lab? Is Comics Lab out there sleeping on New Year's? I think not. They're probably partying like losers. We're coming for you, Comics Lab.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Oh man,
So
where did we
funny.
start?
All right, Scott. Before we
I'm
wrap,
pretty sure we're
it's
not
your
even
turn.
on their radar. So
Your turn,
Right,
Scott.
yeah.
What'd you do on New Year's before
what did I do? So I've got a neighbor across the street who had a party, and we went over there with all the other neighbors and drank too much and did the typical New Year's thing, and we played left, right, center, and I didn't win this year. The previous couple of years we played, I won some money doing that. But there were like lots of different games, like party games and stuff, like weird party games, and a lot of prizes and stuff. So it was nice. It was great. So and tons of great food. So it was good, like just to kind of go out with a bang, eat all that crazy junk food, and then realize that yeah, you got to do something about your health.
So we'll talk.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk. Well, we since the way the days fell, we had an extra day after that. We still could kind of eat whatever because we figured we'd start on a Monday. So, but
all right,
well, we'll talk more about that next week.
Cool. To close this out, I want to say I really like Keeman's "No More Procrastinating." I think that might lead us into next week, because I think next week we're going to get into hardcore goals and stuff like that. But I will say, to you guys out there, and to you, Cory and Scott, good job getting through 2022. We're on a much better path than what felt like the apocalypse last year for like outlook just as a country. So that's good. But Cory, hang in there, and we will see you guys next week. And before we close out, let's let everybody know where to find us. So you're on my channel. You know where to find me. If you haven't yet, hit the bell, hit subscribe. And just so you know, like, hit that bell too, because I should be back to live streaming again very soon. And I plan on hitting that hard. So you want to get notified when that's going to happen. And you hit that bell. Otherwise, Cory's going to cough. So if you haven't hit that bell, it's just going to cause Cory stress and anxiety. Make sure you subscribed and hit the bell. It'll save Cory's life.
It's the antithesis of Angel getting its wings. When people don't ring the bell, then that causes me to cough. So. Damn right.
Okay, so Cory, now that everybody has subscribed and hit the bell and saved you, where can everybody find your stuff?
Yeah, so go to CoryKerr.com. I have things for sale. So if you want a flag or a shirt, or
wait, you got a mug there?
I got mugs. Yeah,
I like
both
mugs.
11 ounce and 15 ounces. So yeah, different colors, different stuff. I found out that I might have mispriced the mugs, so get it before I fix that. But yeah, you can just go there, and yeah, I've got tons of stuff. So it's all up. This year I will be promoting these shirts and flags and mugs and other things as they go. So that's one of my goals. So yeah, go to CoryKerr.com and just click on. You'll see it right at the start. I'm not being shy about it. I have a giant banner that says "Buy shirts." So get on there and buy shirts.
Damn
you
right.
can buy other things if you want to, but that's the new homepage that I've got. So that's where you can find me, CoryKerr.com.
I love it.
And you'll also be able to find Cory next year as he unveils that he is the new set designer for Striper's comeback tour.
So. Hold on a second. Let me.
You guys are gonna make it so I'm just gonna repaint my studio.
Show you guys. Oh, sorry. Let me show you guys what you're gonna see next year.
I just want to point out that this wall, will this not turn? It won't turn. This wall just has toys and is white, so it's only 2 of my 4 walls that are striper colored. Stupid 80s band. I hate hair bands.
Well, to be fair, they're a religious metal band.
That makes it worse.
I know. All right. So that being said, Scott, where can everybody find you? And after you let us know where everybody can find you, tell them how people can keep track of this, because it was on your channel last time. It wasn't even on last week, and then it's on my channel, and next week it's on Cory's channel. Next week, it might be on Gary's channel. Who knows? How do people keep track of it? But first, where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, so you can find my videos and my series Making Comics 101 on my YouTube channel. Just search CircWorks on YouTube. And then I have a website too where I have tons of digital tools and products for helping you make comics, kind of speed up the process, make it easier, make it quicker so you can be more productive in the coming year. If you don't have any of those, look into them. There's tons of different cool things that are going to help you create comics, as well as my own comics and all kinds of physical and digital products over there at circworks.com. And as Josh mentioned, we do the show every single week, except for, sometimes we take it. Last week, we had a few people who were sick, and some people still are, but they hung in there. But typically we do a show every week, but it can get a little confusing because, like Josh said, it's on a different channel. Seems like on a different channel every week. So in order to make it easier for you to know whose channel we're going to be on, who the guest is going to be if we have a guest, which we usually do, but not one of these recaps, but all that stuff, all that information, when we're going to go live, all that stuff. We have a mailing list. We don't spam you or anything. All we do is if you join the mailing list, about 30 minutes before we go live or so, we'll send out a newsletter with the link so you'll know exactly where to go, because YouTube doesn't always notify people. So, and I would also encourage you, if you're not subscribed to each of our channels, to do that and probably ring the bell and all that stuff. And maybe YouTube will notify you, but it wouldn't hurt to also join that mailing list. So, yeah.
Yeah. And we each, or maybe Josh doesn't, but Scott and I do have newsletters as well. So if you want to make sure you're not missing my stuff, because the algorithms are just not going to show it to you, I will always show the important stuff in the newsletter. So get on that.
And with my newsletter, you also get the Comic Maker Starter Kit, which is a digital product, and it's totally free. So just go there to get that free, and you'll be subscribed to the newsletter. So
awesome. I think we are good. I think everybody's knows where to go now and where to subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I hope you guys have a great 2023. Started off right, and hopefully we started you on the right path. And you guys can just think of this as you sleep. All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye.
See you.